as a basic scientist, I may take a different tack than some of the others. But I think that one has to do is define the science and let the chips fall as they may. One of the things that I noticed as I was looking through the literature on the ingredients of energy drinks, how little literature there was. I mean, what I did was I tried to define what the actions of various ingredients were, but there was basically no information, either at the animal level or at the human level, about interactions in any way at the cardiovascular level or at the CNS level. And I think that's really something that's very lacking. Particularly, even when there were clinical studies that were carried out, they weren't carried out properly. There should be randomized, double-blind, well-controlled studies. And there were very few of these. And so that you have one variable, and then you're looking at how that affects the response between caffeine and the agent that you're varying. You pointed out, and I agree with you completely, about the concern of acute versus chronic. Chronic is known to alter the genotype, and so that one has to be concerned somewhat on how certain genes are being upregulated or downregulated, and either whether it's so it's not just that you look at the interaction between caffeine and something else. I think you need to look at the genes when you look at that. So acute responses are probably going to be very different than chronic responses. And then there's other factors that are targets that one may want to consider. One of the members of the audience talked about the possibility of obesity. There are so many factors that are found in energy drinks that can affect energy metabolism. You have caffeine, taurine, carnitine, sucrose, and a whole bunch of vitamins. So you have a lot of things that affect whether glucose is being metabolized and whether fatty acids are being metabolized, because if there's an imbalance between these two, that they can lead to some disease condition. Also, the concern about what effect it has on blood glucose. Do you have glucose intolerance? Do you have insulin resistance? Is insulin secretion altered? All of these factors, I think, are important, and they have not been addressed. Another issue is that a lot of the agents that are found in energy drinks are antioxidants. And usually, I mean, as a basic scientist, well, you think, well, antioxidants are good, and actually you see that on TV. Well, there's people that now argue and go too far in the oxidative antioxidant realm, and so you get in a reduced form. So because you've got so many factors in your energy drinks that are antioxidants, what does that mean? One could also expand not only in terms of talking, say, about heart rate and blood pressure and so on. You can start expanding it to what happens in myocardial infarction. For example, one thing that I saw when I was looking through the literature on ginseng, and it reduces ischemia reperfusion injury, or development of congestive heart failure. You've got antioxidants involved. You've got the cell death due to something like apoptosis. All these factors are involved, and those have not also either been addressed at all either. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. The other thing that occurred to me, and as a basic scientist that doesn't know certain other aspects, one has to define what a vulnerable group is. When talked about vulnerable groups, what are those vulnerable groups, and what's the evidence that they are vulnerable groups? And if you can't provide the evidence, scientific evidence that they're vulnerable groups, then you don't have vulnerable groups. So those are the few comments that I have.